Chapter 4. Help someone reach the top. Go higher and higher until it becomes impossible to bring you down. Michael Bassey Johnson. The power of mentorship cannot be understated. We all have the ability to shape someone's life and contribute to changing their future. Take, for example, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. If we examine it closely, we see that it is the process of passing down genetic information, allowing our offspring to survive in an ever-changing and unpredictable world. At its core, DNA represents a blueprint for success that offers step-by-step instructions on how to develop and grow. This idea of step-by-step instructions is relatable to mentorship, where a mentor gives guidance on every step of life. As mentors, we can pass on our collective knowledge and experiences and provide a blueprint for success to those around us. Entrepreneurs have a unique opportunity to give others a chance they might not otherwise have had. By believing in someone and offering them options, we can persuade them to their greatness and inspire them to reach new heights and excel in their skills and abilities. For me, the concept is summed up in the acronym TOP. The T stands for teaching someone something beneficial, starting them on the path to success. The O stands for giving a person an opportunity to chase their dreams, whether they look like you or not. And the P stands for taking the time to accentuate their potential, as it might be hidden underneath. Each of these factors played a crucial role in my success. To illustrate the magnitude of the acronym TOP, I want to share a story about how someone used it to shape me into a better father, entrepreneur, and person. Will Daniel, the former owner of Wilco Electronic System, Inc., pioneered the establishment of cable television in Philadelphia for low-income families. Mr. Daniel, an African-American entrepreneur, founded Wilco, a minority-owned private cable company, in May 1977. He owned the company until he passed away in 2021. I was fortunate enough to meet him during my first interview at Wilco Electronic System, Inc. in 2005. I applied for a position as a cable technician. However, during the interviewing process, I was disqualified from the cable technician position because Mr. Daniel realized I did not have a driver's license. However, Mr. Daniel's willingness to pay it forward and give me an opportunity truly demonstrated his understanding of the importance of TOP. Even though I had just been released from prison and was still living in a halfway house, he didn't allow my past to define me or limit my potential for growth. His belief in the power of second chances and the potential for redemption was truly inspiring. Without any judgment on my past mistakes, he focused on my potential and saw the value I could bring. This act of kindness and faith in my abilities not only provided me with a chance to improve my life, but also restored my confidence and belief in myself. Despite facing all my obstacles, Will Daniel was ready to provide me with a blueprint for success. He offered me a role as a sales representative within his company and provided me with an office next to his own. At first, I thought he didn't trust me when he placed my office beside his, but under his guidance, I learned valuable lessons about running a business. Through his mentorship, I learned there are many paths to wealth. Will Daniel's wisdom on sales was the solid foundation for my education in this field. He instilled in me the golden rule of sales. Identify a problem that your community faces and provide a product or service that addresses it effectively. He explained that larger cable companies didn't want to service low-income areas. He had found a problem and would spend the rest of his life solving it. His only motive was to provide affordable cable television to low-income families in the Philadelphia Housing Authority. This initiative was meant to bring qualitative entertainment options to people living in some of the most dangerous parts of Philadelphia, specifically those areas shunned by other cable providers. This was the true meaning of giving back to the community. Working alongside Mr. Daniel taught me invaluable lessons about business strategies and success. When I think of Mr. Daniel's impact on my life, I always think of this quote: "If you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime." 20 years later, I am still catching fish from the wisdom of Will Daniel. When I sat back and thought about what role Will Daniel played in inspiring me to establish M&N Communications, it was amazing to realize that Wilco Electronic Systems had encouraged me to start my own business. Despite the initial setback I faced when Wilco decided to walk away from certain deals, I remained undeterred in my mission to ensure that low-income families within the Philadelphia Housing Authority had access to Internet services. This is the reason why I started M&N Communications. However, my journey to becoming a successful entrepreneur was not an easy one. It was during my time in prison that I worked toward obtaining my C-Tech certification from Penn State University as a copper and fiber network specialist. While incarcerated, I acknowledged the significance of digital connectivity and the opportunities it presented for underprivileged communities. I saw firsthand how the lack of reliable Internet access hindered the educational and economic prospects of many people in that community. Driven by a desire to find a good-paying job as a felon when I got out, I dedicated myself to acquiring the necessary skills and knowledge in the field of network systems. Through perseverance and hard work, I successfully obtained my certification as a copper and fiber optics network cable specialist. With my newfound knowledge and credentials, I set out to bridge the digital divide and empower low-income families in Philadelphia. To bring this all to a close, Mr. Daniels gave me a unique opportunity as a felon to begin anew, imparting his vast knowledge and expertise on how to succeed in this unpredictable world of business. I was being taught about entrepreneurship, allowed to reinvent myself, and persuaded of my greatness without knowing I was being mentored. This is the power business executives have to impact future employees. Helping someone reach the top can instill our knowledge, expertise, and self-esteem into those we interact with. Remember how Will Daniel impacted my life and how many people's lives I will impact. Remember this: mentorship has the power to change the world, one person at a time. For the professional, the TOP framework in every context. Will Daniel was a businessman, not a counselor or therapist or teacher. He had no formal training in mentorship, no credential in youth development, no certificate in trauma-informed care. He was an entrepreneur who looked at a recently released felon sitting across from him in a job interview and made a choice. That choice was the beginning of everything that came after. The TOP framework, teaching, opportunity, potential, is not complicated. It does not require a special program or a budget line or administrative approval. It requires only the willingness to look at the person in front of you and ask 3 questions. What can I teach this person that would genuinely help them? What opportunity can I create or connect them to that they wouldn't otherwise have? And what potential do I see in them that they may not yet be able to see in themselves? For teachers, the T is most natural. You are in the business of teaching. But are you teaching beyond the curriculum? Are you finding moments in the margins, after class, during one-on-one check-ins to share what you know about how the world actually works? Are you the kind of teacher who, like Dr. Green, uses what the student brings into the room as the raw material for the lesson? The most powerful teaching often happens not in the planned content of a lesson, but in the moment when a teacher responds to what a student actually brings, their questions, their confusions, their passions, their pain. The O, opportunity, is perhaps the most powerful element of the framework. and the one that is most underutilized by professionals in systems structured around assessment and intervention rather than access and possibility. Will Daniel created an opportunity for me that no system was designed to produce. He saw a person who didn't qualify for the job he applied for and asked, "What job can this person do? What can I offer that meets both his needs and mine?" That is creative, human, generative thinking, and it is exactly the kind of thinking that the most effective mentors practice, regardless of their professional context. Opportunity is not only a job or a program slot. Sometimes it is a referral to someone who can open a door. Sometimes it is a letter of support. Sometimes it is the simple act of saying, "Have you ever thought about this?" at the right moment to the right person. That question, asked by the right professional, can change the entire direction of a life. The P, potential, is where the heart of mentorship lives. Seeing potential in someone is not the same as being naive about their challenges or pretending that the problems don't exist. It is the capacity to hold two things at once. This person has real difficulties and this person has real gifts. Will Daniel held that duality without apparent difficulty. He didn't ignore my criminal history. He acknowledged that I couldn't do the job I had applied for, but he didn't let that history be the only story. He asked what else I could do, and then he invested in the answer. Your ability to see potential in people who cannot yet see it in themselves is perhaps the most powerful tool in your professional arsenal. Neuroscience tells us that human beings are exquisitely sensitive to the expectations others hold of them, what researchers call the Pygmalion effect. When you expect more of people, they tend to deliver more. When you communicate your belief in someone's capacity to grow and change, that belief becomes part of the environment in which they make decisions. The question for every professional is not, does this person have potential? Everyone has potential. The question is, am I willing to see it, name it, and invest in it? Even when nothing about this person's current situation makes it easy to do so. Will Daniel answered yes. So did Dr. Green. So did Brother Yazid. So did Officer Singer. Each of them, in their different roles and contexts, saw something in me worth investing in. Their collective investment produced this book, this life, and every life I will touch in the years to come. Will Daniel is gone now. He passed away in 2021. But his teaching is alive in every business decision I make, every client I serve, every young person I mentor. 20 years of fish from one conversation. Calculate that. Multiply it by every professional in every helping field in this country. The math is staggering, and it all starts with one question. What can this person do, and how can I help them do it? The reality is, I walked into that interview a felon who could not even drive, and I walked out with a desk next to the owners. Will Daniel did not see what I lacked. He saw what I could become. Every day you decide whether to look at what a person is missing or what a person could be. I am living proof of which one matters. Melvin. Going deeper. Second chances as infrastructure. Will Daniel gave me a second chance, and I have spent 20 years justifying it. But I want to make an argument that goes beyond my individual story, because the lesson here is structural as well as personal. Second chances are not just acts of individual kindness. They are infrastructure, the invisible architecture that determines whether a society allows its members to recover from their worst moments or condemns them to be defined by those moments forever. Every professional reading this book is, in some sense, a gatekeeper of second chances. The teacher decides whether a student's past behavior follows them into this year. The employer decides whether a record disqualifies an applicant. The clinician decides whether to see a relapse as failure or as part of recovery. The officer and the judge decide within the bounds of their discretion whether a person is treated as a case to be processed or a future to be invested in. These decisions, made thousands of times a day across our society, add up to the answer to a fundamental question. In this country, can a person come back from their worst moment? For me, the answer was yes, because enough individual professionals decided it would be. But I am acutely aware that for many people exactly like me, the answer was no, and the difference between us is not character or merit. It is the presence or absence of a Will Daniel, a Brother Yazid, a Judge Davis, willing to extend the second chance that the system, left to its default settings, would have withheld. I am asking you to be a builder of second chance infrastructure, not recklessly. Will Daniel did not ignore my limitations. He worked around them intelligently, but generously. When you have discretion, lean toward the second chance. When you can see past a record to a person, do it. When you can be the professional who decides that this person's worst moment will not be their last word, be that professional. You are building the architecture of whether people like me get to come back. Build it so that we can. Questions for reflection. Apply the TOP framework to one person you serve. What can you teach them? What opportunity can you create or connect them to? What potential do you see that they cannot yet see in themselves? Will Daniel hired a felon who didn't even qualify for the job he applied for. Where in your work do you have the power to create an opportunity that no system was designed to produce? The Pygmalion effect tells us people tend to rise or fall to the expectations we hold of them. What expectations are you holding, out loud and silently, of the people in your care? Putting it into practice. Opportunity is the most underused tool in the helping professions. This week, become an opportunity broker for one person. For all professionals, identify one person who needs a door opened. Make one introduction, write one letter of support, or ask one question. Have you ever thought about this that could change their trajectory? You do not have to provide the opportunity yourself. You only have to connect the person to it. If you are an educator or coach, find a way this week to teach beyond the curriculum, to share something about how the world actually works that your students will not find in the textbook but will carry for life. If you are an employer, supervisor, or mentor, look at someone you might normally screen out for their record, their gaps, their rough edges, and ask Will Daniel's question. Not, why can't this person do the obvious job, but what can this person do, and how can I build around it? Teaching plants the seed. Opportunity gives it ground. Believing in someone's potential is the sunlight that makes it grow. You have all three to give.